This is the fifth lecture in the series of Java interview preparations. In this lecture, we will study in details about garbage collection in Java. This is one of the very important topics which are asked very regularly in the interviews of Java. Before you start, it's a prerequisite to know about the basic memory management inside JVM and about the heap memory basics, that how a heap memory works, what are the divisions of the heap memory, and about the basic concepts of the heap memory. I will be adding the videos on heap memory which I have prepared before in the card option, and also I will be adding that in the description, so please go through that video before you start this video. I will try to explain in detail about each and every process of garbage collection in this video. So let us start with garbage collection in Java. Now, before we go through with what is our garbage collection and how it works, we need to understand that why garbage collection was required. So to understand that, we'll have to go through in a bit of history that before Java, in languages like C, if you have some history of developing in C or programming in C, you must remember that for allocating any space to your variables, you had to write code explicitly like malloc, calloc, and say that okay, I need this much amount of memory for this variable, and then C will allocate that amount of memory in for that variable. Also, once the use of that variable was done, you would have to free up the memory explicitly. That is, if you don't free up that part of the memory, that part of the memory is always allocated. Now, what is the basic problem with this kind of code where you will have to explicitly allocate and deallocate the memory? The basic problem is that, let's say if you are coding in C and you have prepared an app, and now that app is running on production for 1 month, 2 months straight. If you are creating some variables and you have forget to add a free at the end of it, eventually your C program will run out of memory, because each and every time some flow is happening and a new variable is getting created, it is not getting freed up. So whatever amount of memory that you have allocated your C program to run in, eventually it will run out of it. So the basic problem with this explicit allocation and deallocation of memory is that humans tend to forget, and there is always a chance of manual mistake or manual overlooking of this kind of things. So now that we know that what are the problems if there is no automatic garbage collection, we should understand that when garbage collection is prepared, what was the hypothesis behind it. So the major hypothesis is that most of the objects that we create in a code they live for a very small amount of time. That is, they run out of scope very quickly. So let's say what happens is, most of the variables that we define, they are generally defined inside a method. So the scope of those variables are only until that method is evaluated, and once that method evaluation is finished, that variable scope is done and it will never be referenced again. Now there are very few variables, or you can say that less than 10% of variables who actually live for the entire duration of the program. Generally they are the static members of the classes. So the major hypothesis over having an automated garbage collector is that we can in the 99%, 95% of cases, there will be variables who are actually not getting used currently in your program and lying in the memory. Now let us start understanding about what are the 3 stages of the garbage collection. So garbage collection works in 3 stages: mark, sweep, and compact. So as the name suggests, they are pretty self-explanatory. That mark means that in this stage, garbage collector looks to each and every object present in the memory, and then it marks each and every object who are now unreachable as dead objects. That is, let's say you have created a variable I and you have assigned some value 0 inside a method. Now that method evaluation has completed. After that, the variable I, which is stored at some point in memory, is not referenced by any place. So that variable is now unreachable. So when the mark stage of the GC runs, the variable i's reference in the memory will get marked as dead object. The sweep and delete stage, as the name suggests, in this stage the GC deletes all the dead objects. And the compact stage, so let's say you have a memory a memory bunch. Now you have deleted some variables in between the memory. Now what happens is that, let's say you have 10 slots of memory. You have deleted something from second slot, some seventh slot, and from eighth slot. Now although you have 3 free slots in that 10 slots of memory, if you want to allocate a variable which will take that 3 slots, you can't, because the memory which needs to be allocated is not with concurrently present in the memory bunch. So what happens is there is fragmentation of memory. That is, you have deleted some data from ambiguous positions, and now you want that, okay, all the free memory should be at one part of my memory disk and all the used memory should be at other part. So the compact just removes the fragmentation, it does defragmentation. Now let us this is a basic this is how our heap memory looks. I have explained it in my previous video also. So from that video, if you can remember, that our heap memory is basically divided into two parts: the young generation or the nursery, and the old generation or the old memory. Now the garbage collection operation can be divided into two operations: the minor GC operation and the major GC operations. Now we will study about the minor GC operations in details first, and then we will go to the major GC operations. Now when is minor GC operation required? Now we know that each and every new object is allocated in the hidden memory of heap. Now whenever you are, let's say, requesting for a new memory space in the hidden memory to allocate a new variable, now let's say at that point of time the hidden memory is full, then the minor GC operation will kick in. It will check for all the variables which are not referenced from anywhere. It will delete all those variables. All those variables which are still referenced, it will move those variables from the hidden memory to one of the survivor spaces and get the hidden memory free. Now it will also check that survivor, once at a point of time there should be one survivor space completely free. Also, whenever on each minor GC run, the minor GC updates the number of GC cycles survived by an object. That is, whenever a minor GC is initiated, it keeps on incrementing the value of the number of GC cycles survived by an object by 1. Why that value is used, or when that value is used? After a certain amount of GC survivals, an object is moved from the survivor space to the old generation. That is, let's say that you have that threshold set as 5. So if an object has survived for 5 GC runs, it will move to the old generation. Now let's say how that complete GC survival will happen. Initially, when some object is allocated, it has the number of GC survived as 0 and it is present in the hidden memory. Now when this hidden memory is full, in the first GC run, that object will move to S0 or S1 depending on whichever survivor space is free at that point of time, and it will get marked as 1 GC cycle survived. For the next 4 GC cycles, it will keep on getting marked as 2, 3, 4, 5 if that object is not null reference right now. After that, if it is still not null reference, it will be moved to the old memory part of the heap. One important point about this minor GC operation is that minor GC only runs on the young generation part of the heap, that is the hidden memory and the survivor spaces. Minor GC doesn't freeze up memory from the old generation part of the heap. Now this is a common misconception in the people, that minor GC runs don't stop the threads. You should know that on every minor GC run, a stop the world pause is triggered. It means that all the threads are stopped also when a minor GC is initiated. Since minor GC runs are very quick, the application doesn't face any considerable latency, and we don't get to know that a minor GC run happened. Now major GC operations, the first thing that you should know, that major GC runs across the entire heap and hence it is very resource consuming. So, and it is also a stop the world trigger pause, so it also triggers a stop the world pause. So that's why you don't want a major GC run to happen in between your program very repeatedly, because your code will face some latency. Now let us go through the conclusion of this entire lecture. If you want to note down the points you should for your interviews. GC runs on heap memory. Every time hidden space gets full, a minor GC is initiated, which removes all the null referencing variables and move other variables to a survivor space. On each minor GC run, minor GC updates the number of GC cycles survived by the object. After a threshold number of GC survivors, an object is moved from the survivor space to the old generation. Minor GC runs only on the young generation heap. Major GC runs across the entire heap. And you should also know that both minor GC and major GC, they both trigger stop the world process. That is, when both one of the two GC runs, no other threads are running. So thank you, and if you like this lecture, please comment, subscribe and share, and see you in the next lecture.